Now, I feel like we owe everyone an explanation for what the hell happened. Okay.
What I don't think it. I don't think we do. I think we can just
Now,
keep it moving.
the truth is that the government funding for the false flag operation known as Hard Fried History, Project Hard Fried History, Project HFH,
Yeah.
it completely dried up.
Yeah. No,
I mean, the war in Ukraine began and they were like, we got to trim some fat out of this budget. And we got axed. But, we talked to the right people, talked to the Secretary of the Treasury, talked with a few people in the Department of Agriculture, if you know what I'm saying, right? And we're back on the air.
I don't know. Yeah. Were you saying we're a Trump era propaganda program?
I don't know. That's what I thought we were. That's what do you mean?
If so, fuck yeah. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. No, yeah, no, we have things going on in our lives too.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care if you're an audience and you expect things from us. We have things going on.
Yeah, man.
But
I do this shit for free. You think I have any obligations?
We don't.
This shit that we don't make any money for? Fuck off.
This is not the way you begin a podcast when you want people to listen to it. But we are back, and we're gonna be doing packages now instead. You're gonna get us 6 weeks at a time. We have a lot going on. Henry runs a bustling business with his girlfriend.
Yes, fiance. We got engaged.
Fiance. Sorry, my apologies. Oh, that's also a thing that happened. Congratulations to Henry.
Thank you very much.
And me, I moved to New York, and I am so poor. It just takes so long to get everywhere. Yeah, and I'm trying to climb the comedy ladders.
Crazy.
So yeah, we had things to do. So, but we're back. We're doing packages. In the first package, Henry wants to start it off.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about part one. We'll do two different 3-parters. Basically, is how this 6 weeks going to go. So this is part one of the first. We're going to be talking about a time of civic empowerment as well as social strife. A time when a nation renegotiated its cultural identity, rejected the old values in favor of the new, and experimented with new ideologies. When the people decided that the collective voice of the people was more powerful than any institution, be it civil, political, or religious, and was determined that that voice be heard. It's also punctuated by runaway inflation, crippling national debt, food scarcity, freak weather events, culture wars, mob rule, public executions, and foreign intrigue. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. For the next 3 weeks, we will be talking about the French Revolution.
French Revolution, motherfuckers.
French Revolution.
The French Revolution,
Where do you think I was going, huh?
Yeah. Goddamn. All right.
And then for sources, real quick, what we're going through, I sourced heavily from Simon Schama's Citizens. Very good book. Probably if you're going to read one book on the French Revolution, read this one. And then it won't come. The information contained won't come in until later. But the 12 Who Ruled by R.R. Palmer, very good book, I will say, about the 12 Who Ruled.
So my source for this episode, for the first 2 episodes, is going to be Eric Hazan's A People's History of the French Revolution. Eric Hazan, in the beginning of the book, says he's not going to be impartial.
Yeah, Simon says the same thing. He's like, you can't be impartial about
it.
It's
a lot of passion. The French Revolution is a lot of passion, and so really good book. More about the kind of inner workings of the revolutions. A lot of history of stuff outside of Paris. Very interesting.
Right on. I'm excited. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
We're going to begin part 1, act 1, whispers, rumors, and intrigue. So where we're going to begin, where you kind of have to begin.
I would just like to say that Henry names these. I don't actually have anything to do with it.
It's fun. It's a little treat for me.
No, I mean, I would never.
I get to think about it and really condense it. If I had to get it down in 3 words, it lends itself to some poetics, I believe.
I would never be so bold to use the word whispers at any time.
Okay, right on. That's that toxic masculinity as a prisoner.
Yeah, it's toxic. That's me. That's on me.
Okay,
dude. That's on me. That's not on you, dude. That's on me.
We have to begin at the American Revolution, specifically June 17th, 1778. This is when hostilities commenced between England and France in the U.S. Revolution. And there is, of course, some cross-pollination from America. You have the big names, the local celebrities, the boys, Lafayette, Ben Franklin, of course. Ben Franklin, they love Ben Franklin in Paris at this time. I think still to this day, he's like, everybody loved Ben Franklin. He was a genius, right? And there's also veneration, respect for Washington. There was like a little book, I think, published in the 1770s. It was like portraits of great men. Yeah. And a lot of them were French, but Washington got a page in that as well. And he's really popular amongst the aristocracy and intellectuals. But of course, like why they're fighting and the ideas of liberty and freedom come over, but which is that's what you always hear in like history classes, or they're like, they were just so inspired by us that they did their own. And it's like, that's a little too reductive, but kind of. Kind of. Wasn't not a factor.
It's an inspiring time. A lot of people was inspiring each other. Also, a little more background. It's cracking in Europe. Yeah, it's cracking. There are hella wars. There are wars from everybody. Like I didn't realize, you could look up the Wikipedia of how many wars there are in the 1700s in Europe. It's just everybody's fighting each other over the pettiest of reasons. And I think we're 10 years removed or 20 years removed off of the 7 Years' War, which is like the first World War, which I will argue is the first World War because it touches basically all 7 continents. Which kills like almost 1 million people. So it's a hot time. It's very crazy.
That's the whole reason, or that's one of the reasons why France wanted to get involved in the U.S. Revolution, aside from like however much they may or may not have believed in our cause. Specifically like Vergennes and I think Rochambeau, or unless he was the arms smuggler, but like Vergennes, he was pretty much focused on get back for 7 Years' War. He was like, let's just any chance to spite England we can get, let's do it.
Yeah, people just these are spite wars. These aren't even real. Like the war. This war is about a war 4 wars ago.
Mm-hmm. And that war was about a war 10 years.
10, it's a lot.
Just right on down the line.
It's a lot of hurt feelings.
Yep, a lot of people who just need to come together and just talk it out, but they can't for whatever reason. 1781 specifically, 227 million livres had been spent in the American campaign, mostly on the Navy, which was about 147 million. 91% of that money had been raised by loans. And it's kind of uncertain at this time whether they would be able to pay them back. So it's not, there's a blip on the radar to be sure, right? It's very expensive to modernize the Navy and maintain a standing army because they had to do both. And obviously you need a modern Navy, especially during the colonial era, because you got to get to your colonies somehow.
You are spanning the world and you have enemies across the world. Again, as we said before, hot ass time. Yes. Hot outside.
And it is expensive.
And it is expensive because you got to get shit made in wood.
Yep.
These are wood weapons. You got to get this smelted, and people barely know how to read.
Yeah, it's
the dude who know how to smelt, how much his price increases.
The smelting man.
When nobody goes to college, nobody can get a welding degree. There's just only one dude who can weld.
Not unless you're an aristocrat. He was doing okay. The treasury might have been in debt, but he was making bank. Right?
Murder.
Also a crisis of public faith going on, because that's I guess what Simon Schama really harped on, is that the debt wasn't considered a national debt as it was. He uses Great Britain as an example, that Great Britain's debt was higher, but because they had a bank, that debt was centralized. And so there wasn't as many social factors in play. Whereas in France, they did not have that bank. They had tried to, but it failed for, I don't remember why, but it was perceived as a royal debt.
Yeah.
Like you have all these, not even rural farmers, but just people in other provinces of France who are just like, it's not,
because they don't have the
I
government.
don't owe anything to these people. One of the things that they do that really kind of makes the snake eat its own tail, so to speak, is France practiced the sale and purchase of offices. There was this thing called the Farmers General, which if you were a farmer, you were just a tax collector, and you could purchase your right to collect taxes on, I think, a certain good for a certain province.
Yeah.
And if you just paid X amount of money up front, that means you were the guy who went around in that province and collected all the money. So this is okay for the French monarchy because it provides them with a recurring source of short-term capital, but it also makes it an obstruction to structural reform unless new lines of capital were secured in their place. Because if they were to buy back all of these offices, which on the eve of the revolution, there was about 51,000 of these, to buy all of these positions back, basically to buy out the aristocracy almost, it would cost about 600 to 700 million livres. And so it's like they saved themselves a headache of having to collect tax by giving these offices out to these people, but ultimately they're not generating as much revenue for themselves if they just would have collected the taxes themselves instead of selling the right to collect the taxes, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So there are three sources of revenue for the French crown at this point. There are direct taxes, there are loans, and then again, like we just talked about, the sale of the right to collect those taxes. And like we discussed, it's a huge profit loss, but it saves the headache, because that was another thing, is that they didn't really have as much of a centralized apparatus, government apparatus in particular. That's one thing that it was really different, and that I honestly took for granted as an American reading about old Europe, is that it was just like, all right, you had the crown and they had all the best stuff, and they had judicial courts that would help them enforce their laws, and they had the clergy, and then they had laborers and poor people who couldn't read, and that was it. There wasn't there were roads, but like I said, it was just kind of surreal reading about this as an American, because I was just like, what do you mean they don't have a DPS?
No, it doesn't sound like a good time.
Yeah, no, just kind of very, very decentralized. Nobody really knows what's going on, but the king loves you and he speaks for God. So that's all you need to know.
It sounds like a society set up for the king, which is what it was.
for
rich people and clergy.
Yeah, and clergy for sure.
Yeah, and nobles.
They were having a good time.
They were having a great time.
They were having a great time. There are also, so that's more what we just discussed, the issue of the debt and how that debt was generated. There's social issues as well, of course, which that's another thing that Simon Shamma kind of stresses throughout, is that sometimes it matters less what the truth is and what people believe. And there's plenty of reasons to be upset with the monarchy at this time. One of the big affairs of the 1780s, I think at first, I don't know if the story first breaks. I have it dated as July 1785. There is the Diamond Necklace Affair. Louis XVI, the king at this time, he buys it for Marie Antoinette, his infamous wife, for the price of 1.6 million livres. She decides that she doesn't want it. I think maybe I don't know why she returns it, but she decides that she doesn't want it. She says, okay. There's this guy, this noble, De Rohan, I would say Rohan because I'm an LOTR nerd, but De Rohan, he wants to get back in the queen's favor. This other person in the queen's court, Jean de la Motte, she dressed up this third party, Nicole Leguay, in one of the queen's dresses and instructed, quote unquote, the queen, this person impersonating the queen, to act as an intermediary to purchase the necklace on her behalf. It arrives in January of 1786, and then Jean de la Motte gives it to her lover, Rétaux de Viette, who sells it piece by piece. He breaks it up and he sells it over the course of a while. And the dudes who sold it to de Rohan, Jean de la Motte told de Rohan that no funds would be available for the first installment, which there are 4 total until October of 1786. Bomer and Basenj, who are the guys who sold the diamond necklace, they keep on pressing de Rohan because they were being pressed by their own creditors. They keep on saying, hey, where's the money? Where's the money? Where's the money? And he says, I don't have it. He basically has to come clean and be like, I met with this person in the garden, and you know, she pressed a rose in my hand, and she said nice things to me, and she said that we were going to be friends, and then I talked to Jean de la Motte, and she said that I was going to buy the necklace on her behalf, and that it was all good because she had been told by the queen that she wanted the necklace, and the funds were going to be made readily available for me. And then I got swindled. I don't know what to tell you guys.
It's also so this like she just gives it to her lover, and the idea of selling it piece by piece is such a lovely detail, because you know he was just the grimiest dude. You can tell just because he was like, I'm not selling this necklace. I don't value the beauty of this necklace. Yeah. I wrote this down to the fucking stones. Yeah. And sold this motherfucker
piece by piece. Yeah. You know, little bit of a time. You might be able to get more that way too, because you know, whole set you have to sell it cheaper.
The grimiest
piece
dude.
By piece, you know. Yeah, for real. To look at it and be like, I don't care about beauty.
A big face polo dude.
That's probably. Yeah.
Big polo dude. Big polo emblem dude.
A lot of neck fat.
Back neck fat. That's nasty. That's one thing I pray on all the homies. No back neck fat. That's crazy. I love you, dog. Don't do that.
Sounds like a curse. You know, you step on the wrong toe. It's like, I curse you with neck fat. May your neck be very greasy, very sweaty.
Back of that boy neck chubby. That's a lot.
Little cutlets, you know. You can grab them, jiggle them around if you want.
All right, don't do that to nobody. Don't get stabbed out here. Don't do that to nobody.
At a cannibal steakhouse, the neck fat cutlet is actually considered a delicacy.
I went to Peter Luger's today, and it was, you know, it's good. It's good. It's good. But that's all right.
Okay. Right on. So there is a trial of de Rohan. Antoinette wants him nailed, obviously. The cardinal, because he's also a cardinal de Rohan. He maintains his innocence. Rumors abound that, you know, the queen was somehow acting in bad faith, because a lot of people hate the queen at this time. And so he's sentenced to the Bastille by Louis the 16th. And this is his public martyrdom. Like, the incident is framed as an act of royalist oppression against this poor gullible man. And all he wanted to do was be friends with the queen again and do something nice on her behalf. And she, the harlot, had the nerve and the lack she left, because she lacked such a heart. She imprisoned him in the Bastille coldly when he was just trying to do something nice for her, right?
I mean that's how they treat you. That's how they treat you today. You get scammed. The creditors be like, hey, I still need that money, fella.
I still need it, man. I'm sorry. I don't care what your intentions were. Where is it? Another thing that a lot of people are, this is more like an unconscious or implicit force, but it's still working in people's minds, which creates preconditions when, I want to say, material things happen, when actual things happen. But the King Louis the 16th, he's got intimacy issues. Yeah. And this is pretty well known. And this kind of brings the monarchy into question. I think Marie Antoinette did birth him 2 male heirs, ultimately, one of whom died. But the first was a daughter, and he had some issues. Let me say that.
Yeah. So like, this is so we see this also in our uprising, our slave revolt episode that we did, and also in New Orleans in like the 1800s. In French society, it's just all right to talk about niggas' dicks out in the open. It's just all right. They just get real personal in the press. Yeah. And like I think maybe it's just that's always the way it's been. They got real personal about their leaders and be like, yeah, they can't get it up, dog.
Yeah, man.
Just saying that in the press. That's a lot. Like, we gotta go, like, I wouldn't say that about nobody else.
I mean, this is the king, though. This is the king.
Well, here's the
thing.
The
king's organ needs to be.
We all go through times.
Playable. You know what I mean?
We all go through times.
Yeah,
I
but
think
this is
we've
the
all
king,
been
though.
through times.
This is the leader of the nation. You really,
No, they
really.
put a lot of stress on us. We all go through times. So like that's not
Okay,
it
that's
is.
fair. I'm
So
not
don't
going to
be doing
dispute.
that. Yeah,
I'm not going to
no,
dispute
no,
that
like
I've
don't
not had
act like you've
times.
never
Okay,
been
that's
in there.
fine. Yeah. Okay, you're right. You're right. But
you never looking down. Right, but so yeah, so I feel bad for the king.
I'm not the king. I'm not the king. You know, if your king is impotent, then it's like we need a different. He's not the guy.
Wouldn't that make you impotent?
Guy.
That would make you impotent.
It's a lot of pressure.
To be like, it's a lot of pressure, and that's why it be happening because of the pressure.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, dude. Don't feel bad. This is
it can get into your head. It gets in all of our heads. Okay, I'm just saying I get it, right?
I really want to say
as far as the French people talking about the king and being like, yo, we've had a long-standing monarchical tradition for about a millennia now, really for about a millennia. Like since Charlemagne, we've had some impotent dudes, sometimes fatally impotent dudes.
Maybe
sometimes dudes who can't stop swinging that thing around, right? But at least they're swinging.
Yeah,
at least that's what matters to us. Okay. Yeah. And now all of a sudden we got a king who can't swing. That's not gonna fly. Maybe
the embassy problems. Maybe because also y'all keep fucking the same like group of cousins.
That's the Habsburgs. I don't know if that applies.
I thought it was all about all of them. I thought they all fucked each other because they're all kind of parts of the same family. Because they're all like a couple of families that are fucking. It's not like
there might be something there. There might be
like this. Once you get to upper crust, you can't just marry down. So it's all the same family. Yeah. It's like it's only like 12 families. You go fuck your cousin at one point.
He had some kind of disease where it was said that he would just kind of like that when he was with Antoinette, he would just like he would be erect and would stick it in for like 2 minutes or so and then not even thrust.
Babe,
and be like, oh, I'm sleepy, and then just like, tired me out, you know, and then just crash, and she'd be like,
okay.
I
mean, there's probably two things. He's the he just probably wasn't in the women or like was into different or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe
I think they did an operation on it. I think it was painful for him to have erections.
Oh,
and so whenever he would get hard, he would just experience more pain than pleasure, and so he was just like, I'm going to sleep.
No, okay.
That was dream about boats. He did really like
that boats. That was okay. That's sadder than the funner option. The option for me, which was what the funnest option for me was just going to be that he had never been taught how to fuck properly.
Maybe. I mean, King Louis XV did not. He was a bad dad. His dad was bad. His dad was very impotent, but that's kind of what ruined it. Is because he was like King Louis XV was just running around because King Louis XIV was too badass, and so there was nowhere to go but fall.
Yeah. You know? He really should. You gotta put on that R. Kelly, dog.
Maybe that.
Actually, no, we don't listen to R. Kelly no more. Never mind. I forgot about that. I forgot about that. My apologies to y'all.
He's been guillotined. Right?
My apologies.
So in 1786, due to the financial issues, the Controller General, which is the basically equivalent to the finance minister, Cologne, he can't secure any new loans. He says we need equal and proportional taxes, no privileged exemptions. I believe I also read that the privileged exemptions existed more for the church and the clergy, and that they had the right to tax themselves.
Yeah.
And that might have been more of what he was talking about, because I'm not sure the degree to which the landed estates were privileged in terms of like taxation. Surely they had exemptions, but I've read that there's some pushback on that they weren't, that it was more of a social thing rather than like concrete privileges, at least compared to the clergy. But I'm not sure on that. There's also a trade agreement with Great Britain in 1786. That year, they opened each country to the other's exports. And so there's an influx of imports without tariffs. And this depresses domestic industries within France, particularly like textiles was just starting to burgeon throughout the region. And then all of a sudden there's a depression in that industry. And you've got urban unemployment, rural unemployment. Not a good mix.
It's called baby NAFTA.
Basically
late 18th century NAFTA.
Mm-hmm. NAFTA pre-NAFTA.
NAFTA pre-NAFTA.
I've read some stuff about like Great Britain basically being the architect of free trade. And it sounds so good, doesn't it? They're just like, hey, free trade. But they're the ones with the most to trade. So of course they're the ones who want to argue like, hey, free trade, for like free love. Dude with the biggest thing has the most to gain from free love. Am I right?
I mean, that sounds like a personal thing that you got going on.
You know me, man. I'm throwing that thing around.
That's not good. That's not good. Take it inside. Go inside. Don't throw anymore. Go inside. You're grounded.
Cease throwage. Okay.
Yeah.
February of 1787. There's internal discussions within the ministry. There's the king planned to convene the Assembly of Notables, which this is a big deal. The Assembly of Notables, it's not, I don't know exactly what its legislative role is, or if it is quite literally just an assembly of notables. Like you have all of the privileged classes, you have all the aristocrats, you get them all in one place and say, hey, we got a problem. Here's what the hell we're doing about it. Yeah. It is a big deal because the last time that it had been convened was 1626. So we're talking about 160 years.
160.
160. Yeah, 161, 160. Long time. This doesn't happen often. It's the nation is in crisis when this occurs, clearly, or it at least has something that it needs to talk about.
Lifespan is 26 at this time. So so that's about
you're just like, Jesus, whoa, this is all right.
You're burning through generations. This is great grandfathers.
Yeah, you're just throwing bodies at life, at death, but you're waging a war of attrition against death, and you're just like, just throw them.
How did we get the bodies? I didn't know how we got the bodies. You were talking about bodies, and I was like, wait, how do we get the bodies?
I've also read, or Simon Shamma explains that Calonne wanted to convene the Assembly of Notables in order to circumvent the parliaments. He basically wanted them as a rubber stamp. And that's the thing about the parliaments too, is although it is the same word as parliament, it's parlement.
Yeah.
It doesn't serve the same function. It's not a legislative body. It's more like a judicial court. There were 13 of them throughout France at this time, and they more assisted in enforcing the king's decrees, but also they had a court function. So they're more like a judiciary than a legislative body. There's really not a legislative body at this time. I don't really think. I think it's just the king says, this is what we're doing. And everybody's like, okay. And that was one of the biggest issues, is that they were like, the French citizens were like, we don't really have representation. We don't really have a legislative body. We would like one, please. Yeah. And the king's like, I don't.
Why would he? Yeah. Why you gotta ask a lot of questions? Come on.
That's my territory, man. Yeah, this is what I am, the legislative body. That's me, man. You got me. What do you need people who aren't me for? I'm the legislator. I just tell you guys what to do and you do it. What's the big deal here? And it's like, well, we don't really think that you know what the average citizen goes through. You're kind of insulated entirely from everything that might affect the average citizen. So you're kind of out of touch. You don't know what it's like.
Average. Are we just preparing to be average? That's what we want. We want to worry about the average.
But you're the king, and there's only one of you. Yeah, you have it good, but
but that's the point. That's why there's one of because God and boom, got him again. Got him again.
But I don't know if I believe in God.
Okay, and this is that time. And this is also that time.
Then you get some issues, right?
Yeah, this is that time now. This is when they're doing that.
Exactly. They convene the Assembly of Notables on the 22nd of February, 1787. Calonne reveals that 1,250 million leaves had been borrowed since 1776, outbreak of the American Revolution. He asked for a general land tax, including notables, the creation of local assemblies at the parish, district, and provincial levels to help in the assessment, distribution, and administration of the tax, basically asking for a bureaucratic apparatus. Corvée labor, which is basically like impress labor for public works, to be replaced with a money tax. So they're less focused on public works and more focused on like, hey, where's the money? We got to pay this shit off. Yeah. And a single duty to curb smuggling as well. Those are his asks. And the Assembly of Notables itself, they were a group of rich landholders, but they weren't necessarily hostile to the end of their privileges, if they even had them. It's been framed, and I think the narrative too common is like, they just didn't want to do it. And that's not entirely true. They were open to reform, but they also, by being open to reform, they open the door to power grab as well. So that's why they're kind of like on this reformist wave and be like, hey, we can do some of this stuff. What else could we do?
It really seems like everybody, like the king like all the royalists, like king people, like they're not like, they're just thinking about like the monarchy continuing. And it seems like everybody down from that have been reading like Enlightenment shit.
Yep.
And was like, I'm thinking about some different shit.
Yeah. I'm on kind of a different plane right now. I'm on a different wave. I don't know.
But then within that wave that's a big ass wave with a lot of different opinions in that wave and a lot of different classes and groups in that. And then that's what we'll talk about later.
I'm all about returning to the state of nature, man. Trying to get back in tune with that primal anarchy, brother, so I can really feel what my body's telling me to feel, man. You know.
And then also in that wave is just a dude who like, I own slaves in Hispaniola, and I'm trying to keep them. What the fuck are we doing about that? Like that's all in the wave
thing going on.
The whole thing, like
there's a lot, and then you open it up to like, all right, anybody have any new ideas? And everybody's kind of like, yes, over here, please.
Yeah, and that's we'll talk. Yeah.
So the notables in particular, they did want a land tax, but to kind of prove the point that they were open to reform, they did want the land tax, but they wanted it to be from the net production of their estates. So they didn't want it to be gross. They're arguing for deductions, basically. And they're also like posturing for history. And they're like open for these limited reforms. Because again, 160 years, that this is the last time the Assembly of Notables was open. So they're like positioning themselves as being on the nominally maybe on the side of something that we might call the people. So they were, in some instances, like we were discussing, the notables were willing to go further than Calonne even. And he also offers loans to the notables offer loans to the government to keep it going in the meantime for now. But if they say, if you want this land tax and a stamp tax, we're going to have to take this to the Estates General.
Yeah,
because we don't feel that we as the Assembly of Notables represent all of the people.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to include them in this. If you want to put a land tax on the entire country, because not even really known as a nation yet, if you want to put a land tax on the entire country, let's consult the entire country. This brings us to Act 2, brinkmanship. In April of 1787, scandal-ridden Calonne resigns. I'm not sure exactly what the scandals were. I know the public was not on his side, and he had been doing a bunch of, I think, shady financial stuff, and that got found out, and people just hated him, so they got rid of him, or he resigned. Government.
I remember that they think in the book that Hazan was talking about that Necker was the straight up guy because they brought in Necker right after this dude who were like kind of shit.
Yeah. Necker, I think he was acting as Controller General. He was able to save the government money by cutting back on military expenditures and reducing the amount of offices. I don't know because he had served in the 1770s, I believe, and he had cut a bunch of cooks from Versailles and stuff like that. And just looking at the government expenditures and be like, do we really need this? Just austerity, you know?
Yeah.
And he's presenting the approved taxes to the parliaments. Again, 13, they would be the ones who would have to enforce these. There's this guy, Dempré-Menil, of the Paris Parliament, says that none of the reforms the notables had approved were actually approved. They had not been consented to by the body of people they would impact. Again, the country or the nation.
Yeah.
And so Dempré-Menil begins to attack Calonne and his administration, really vilifying those in power. So Lamini de Brion, the new, I think he was like government minister. He was the chief guy. Necker is controller general under Lamini de Brion. He stations a bunch of Swiss guards in the Palais de Justice. He exiles the Paris Parliament to Troyes, censors some publications and journals, and this basically confirms what orators had been saying about monarchical despotism, that they were just trying to crowd out the voice of the people entirely. Because here you have the Paris Parliament basically taking the side of the public and taking the side of the people and saying, you need to widen discussions. We need a seat at the table.
Yeah.
And the government says, no, leave Paris.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact.
This was a time when they would be like, hey, you're exiled.
Yep.
And they'd be like, you'd be like, what? And they'd be like, no, you're gone. You can't be here no more.
And be like,
there's no appeal to that.
But I mean, there's one appeal. It's a little circuitous, so to speak, but that's the route they go, you know?
Yeah.
September of 1787, there are negotiations. Gone is the land and stamp duty that Calonne had wanted initially. Instead, the vingtième, which is 1/20th of everyone's income. It's an income tax, 1/20th. Vingt is 20 in French. On the whole population would be collected for 5 years. And then the Estates General would be convened. And the government of Lamini de Brion, they rescind the edict abolishing the parliaments, because I think the king had given one, and they say, like, they go back and forth on that. They're like, no, we can keep the parliaments because they don't want too much unrest. And then in November of 1787, the king reinforces that edict about the parliaments. He says, no, I am abolishing the parliament. I am closing the parliaments. Make sure it's done. So things keep going back and forth between the monarchy and the parliaments until April of 1788, the Parliament of Paris, they say, quote, the will of the king alone is not enough to make law. 13 of the parliaments throughout France, they stop collecting taxes. And if you have a government that's heavily in debt, and all of a sudden your tax collecting agency just says, we're not doing it, that's a pretty big so to speak, you know, upping of the ante for sure.
Yeah, no, it's basically a strike action. Just be like, hey.
Yeah. The parliaments have unionized, so to speak.
Yeah.
May of 1788, very next month, the king orders prominent agitators arrested, and the parliaments forcibly close. People start demonstrating and protesting. On June 7th of 1788, this is commonly cited as the outbreak of the revolution. This is the day of the tiles. There's an assembly. There's just like a protest of people that prevents the arrest and exile of the magistrates from the Parliament of Grenoble. Grenoble is in southeastern France, and there's like a group of the king's forces are going into the Grenoble Palais de Justice to arrest these guys and kick them out. And citizens, they counter mobilize, and they're in the streets, and they get on the rooftops and start like pelting the government officials or the government troops with tiles, which is why it's the day of the tiles, because they don't have guns, but they want to fight this. And they are successful. The government forces, the king's forces specifically, are repelled. And this is now an assertion of the collective strength of the people. We might not have guns, but there's a hell of a, might not have as many guns, but there's a hell of a lot more of us than there are of you. And we know this now.
Yeah. It's a weird fact when people like start to realize, oh, like at the government, I can actually like face down the government and like it'd be all right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You see it, yeah. You see it like I think you saw it like I don't know. You see it in like different protests around around the world. I watch a lot of Al Jazeera, so you see like at first when people like they go up against the government and they be like against the police force, and then they like actually cracks down some people, and then they be like, oh, this is okay, all right, and nothing happens. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
If you just leave after the crackdown, then they win. But if you keep up that public pressure, But that's the other thing, is that the people have to think of themselves as collectively as a body of people, that the individual can't matter. It's got to be galvanized group of people, like you can take one of us down and that doesn't matter because we were out here, as a collective.
Yeah.
On August 18th of 1788, you've got the collapse of French credit. The government declares bankruptcy. Brienne resigns and is replaced by Necker himself.
Okay.
December of 1788, Louis XVI agrees to double the amount of delegates to the Third Estate, because that had been an issue that they were kicking around. The Estates General is not quite open yet, but there's all this maneuvering going on before the opening of the Estates General. The Third Estate, which is just the commoners, the people themselves, they're saying we're outmatched by the aristocracy and the clergy, and we always will be. And so he says, like, okay, well, twice as many of you can represent the country, the people of France itself. And this is where I'm confused, because as far as I know, is they still vote as units.
Yeah. So
it's like you can have quintuple the amount of delegates on the Third Estate. It's not going to fucking matter because they can still be overridden. But if they're still voting as blocks, then the aristocracy and the clergy still has 2/3. So it might have been just like a rotten carrot that he was giving them, like, oh, you can have twice the amount of people. And it's like, yeah, but we're not voting by head, asshole.
Yeah.
How about we vote by head and you double it?
It's like, you don't think we know math?
Yeah.
Like, you think I learned that shit? Like,
I see what you're doing here, and I don't appreciate being condescended to. Thank you very much.
And also within the Third Estate, again, is like, it's like the commoners, but those are like from merchants, all the way down to like it's everybody there. Yeah. So like, even with that, there's like a lot of divisions, dog. A lot of divisions that will come up later.
A lot of differences of opinion. It's like we have to work within this collective entity known as the Third Estate, but that's still composite.
Yeah.
There's also this is a very cold winter, the winter of 1788 and 1789. There's a poor summer grain harvest as well due to a hailstorm in July of all months. El Nino, man. I don't know if it's El Nino. I don't know if they had El Nino back then, but
no, just blame the Spanish boy.
El Nino, man, he's everywhere. El Nino gets away with a lot of shenanigans. Point being, there's a food shortage, and that winter in particular is very gnarly. Like, there are men dying in the snow, and it wipes out the harvest for 1789. So you've got a food scarcity as well. So food prices go up, and like to the point where most of a wage earner's daily income is being used on food. And it's particularly worse for families, for people with children who are like, I have to feed these snotheads somehow, and the prices have gone up, and I'm never vacationing is the point.
Yeah. No, it's food costs. Listen, I live in New York City now, so man. I know a little bit about spending your entire month of rent on just bread, because that's where I live now. Just on bread, it's just so much fucking money.
You gotta get bags of beans, man.
Bags of beans, but you think I could afford beans? Wow. What a rich lifestyle you're living out there, out in the heartland.
Comfy old Houston.
Comfy old Houston.
There's a label. So the thing is, this is true then, this is true now. Every industry is linked to agriculture. Every industry is linked to agriculture.
Yeah.
If agriculture goes down, they all go down. So there's a labor crisis as well. It's particularly with like seasonal.
I would like to say specifically, yes, you are correct. And also in the United States, because of the government because of corn subsidies, linked also doubled down, tripled down, linked everything to agriculture. But anyway.
Fuck corn subsidies. We'll go on record. I'll go on record. Fuck
no, I can. Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not running for Congress in Nebraska. Fuck corn subsidies.
In France, there are seasonal laborers at wheat fields and vineyards and olive groves. And because of the food crisis, they're turned away by the landowners. There's this glut of unemployed people entering the cities looking for work at the factories, which are depressed due to the trade agreement of 1786 in part. And this is accompanied with rising food prices. So you've just got a bunch of hungry people in urban areas, hungry and unemployed with nothing to do. This is not good. No. And there are also, your quintessential opportunists. You can always find them, right? There are some grain speculators that start hoarding their supply in order to drive up the prices because they're like, this can be good for me if I'm just real crappy about it.
See, and this is because I have an MBA. Mm-hmm. Because I have an MBA, I can kind of break down that, when I took a business ethics class, they talked about in the middle of a hurricane, you got two gas stations. One is giving away water and one is charging $30 for water. The people, they always going to go back to the one who was giving away water. And that was the business ethics class I took. Right. And I can tell right now that I can tell that these grain speculators, they did not take that class.
They did most certainly.
They didn't take that class.
Did not.
They didn't really take that class. That's why. That's what I could. That's what,
they weren't worried about it. They weren't worried about repeat business. They were like, I'm gonna retire after this.
They think most of the people are gonna die because they're starving. Yep. So I'm not really worried about if they're
honestly safe bet.
Yeah, they're
pretty
great.
Good,
yeah,
pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that early man, that capitalism, man.
Yeah, man. Race to the bottom. February to April of 1789, the king he asked people for their grievances ahead of the convening of the Estates General because it's right around the bend. People from across the country, not yet the nation, would assemble in their bailages, which means bailiwicks. That's the word that they use, bailages. These are like local assemblies. There's 25,000 representatives known as cahiers. And this is a heretofore unprecedented act of democratic consultation and representation in France. This is a huge deal.
Yeah.
And most of them, because it's basically a survey. Survey says for everybody throughout France is asking them, okay, the Estates General's coming up. What would you like them to discuss?
Yeah.
Everybody. And most are arguing for some sort of permanent consultative body, some sort of legislative body.
Yeah.
They want to keep the Estates General open. And the Estates General would have to approve any new taxes. There's calls for a constitution, an end to censorship. They want abolished the lettre de cachette, which is basically a arrest without a hearing of the king could issue one of these lettres and you would just be taken. And they want to strip nobility of their concrete privileges. So they're like nobility can exist socially, but as far as like tax exemptions, if they had them again, no, we're not doing that.
I don't know. It seems like a lot of people are reading. A lot of people are like, they have all these new ideas. The American Revolution has happened. They've seen that happen. They've in fact been the country supporting that.
Yeah. And the reason it prevailed, moreover.
Yeah. And and then also like, I just always think about like merchant class people having to do business with these fucking aristocrats.
Yeah.
And just like always constantly being like, they're fucking me. And I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my shit, but like they're fucking me. And I can tell they're fucking me, and they have a higher rank than me. And it's like, there's nothing different.
I have more money than this guy.
And he's got that fucking powdered wigs on and the fucking, and they're like in fucking, and it's not like, and that's fine. But you're also a dude who just literally lives in mud.
Yep.
Like you literally live.
One of the things that I found interesting is that the gamekeepers and tax collectors in particular were loathed by peasants. Like this is like a problem particular to the time. Gamekeepers would attack peasants with dogs for setting traps for rabbits devouring their crops. That's how much aristocratic protection there was. This game is for rich people with nothing to do to hunt. So what if there's a rabbit devouring your cabbages. I don't care. You can't kill that rabbit to protect your cabbages because it's reserved for the aristocracy, reserved game. And they're like, a lot of the complaints from rural France in particular is like, this needs to go. This is not good for the nation.
They have in the book I read on Napoleon, which is kind of a book that talks a lot about gardening and like stuff like that. Napoleon was a gardener, is the whole thing. It talks a lot about like people in the revolution didn't like conservation of anything, because particularly a force, because before the revolution, the ancient regime, which is the world regime, would just always, they would have these massive tracts of land that were just for like hunting and dogs and shit, and people were trying to like, you know, use the resources and like use the land, and then they can't use it because it's all under royal protection. Yep.
There's also complaints against the institutional church. They want the church to return to its primitive fortunes. We'll see how that plans out.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that Simon Schama laid home is the idea of liberty versus protection. Of like liberté, égalité, fraternité are obviously the three ideals of the revolution, most famously. But what they want is almost an inversion of protection. Right now, there's protection for the aristocracy, just the same as there's socialism for the wealthy in the US, you could argue. But they want that protection. They want that red tape for themselves. They want to say, hey, we would like some laws that say the aristocracy can't do this to us, can't exploit us in these ways. They want prohibitions. They like certain rights enshrined in a constitution that affirms liberté. But like rational economic reforms. And, you know, they're not necessarily in favor of mechanical or industrial centralization, because the free market is putting massive amounts of people out of work. So they want liberty in the abstract. But when it comes to law, more protection, more this should be disbarred, this should not be allowed. We need to be protected from the upper classes because they will exploit us and they have the means to do so. And we should just invert this. This gets us into Act 3, pen or sword. So May 4th of 1787, you've got the procession of the Estates General to Versailles, a milieu of all classes of France. Some have argued that this is like spectacle as distraction, like this big over-the-top dramatic French parade. Meanwhile, people are like starving and dying and freezing in the street. But if we've got a parade, damn it, you know. Mirabeau, who we're going to talk about the next episode, probably my favorite revolutionary figure. He attacks the representative nature of the Estates General, and he starts just yelling at everybody, just telling everybody that they're full of crap. He's like, how many people could the clergy, the nobles, and a bunch of mayors, aka the Third Estate, really represent? Like, this is not as representative. We're all patting ourselves on the back for this. This is BS. We can do better, France. And I believe he's like disbarred. I think he's kicked out for saying this. Yeah,
it's also like just speaking out at this time. In Mirabeau, is he a good guy or is he a bad guy? Because I think he's a character that you love him.
I like him. I love him. I do love him. I want to read some of his, and they're all in French, unfortunately. So maybe not for 10 years, but
we'll talk about it.
Okay. June 4th of 1789, the Dauphin dies. The prince dies. Louis XVI's son, after all those years of impotence and struggling, he finally births his son, an heir, and he dies. 600,000 livres are assigned for his burial at a time when bread prices were at an all-time high. I'm going to go out on a limb here, say not a great PR move.
It's not a great PR move, but who's are you gonna be the one that tells the king he shouldn't fucking spend money on his fucking kid's funeral?
No,
Like,
that's a
so
good point. That's
it's like
fair.
also some personal shit where it's just like you
That's
can't.
fair. And I bet a lot of people, if you were to say that publicly, a lot of people would be like, hey, all of France is grieving right now. Or at least like the royalist French are grieving right now.
Yeah,
Also, there would be some pushback on that. So, yep, that's
yeah,
right. But also, I don't know.
yeah. No. Yeah, no. I don't think it's the. They don't have an understanding of what the rest of the country
I
feels.
just think like
Yeah,
I just think of like a French mother in some rural area of France, like, ooh, your son died. I've
yeah,
given birth to 23 children,
yeah.
8 of whom I've had 8 of my sons. Ooh, one little prince dies. I 8 dead kids. I've got 8 under my belt. Okay.
Is very much like the bubble of like a DC.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's very much like, hey man, we're gonna go down to this place that we think and we know is a pizza shop. Hey man, the rest of the country thinks that's where you molest kids at.
That's fair.
Like that's
Yeah.
what the rest of the
Yeah.
that's what the feeling is around like in France. Like they all think you guys are doing crazy shit.
Weird shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there were those rumors about that, particularly about the queen, that she's like just constantly having orgies.
Yeah.
She wasn't, as far as I know.
I
As
just
far as
think
I've read, she wasn't having orgies. She may have had one. She may have had one affair, and historians will even equivocate on that and be like, "That's not substantiated." But no, she wasn't out here just throwing that thing around.
also and if she was, that's cool. Also, everybody's got to live their truth, and that's
Yep.
fine. Yeah.
Just the one guy. That's what she did.
I mean,
Fearson's the other
if
guy.
she
Axel
was,
Fearson is her lover's, and his like I said, historians will even say, "Oh, she didn't really." I think she was. I think she was fucking him because I mean,
if she
Louis this,
was fucking him, she was fucking multiple people. She was in maybe dom sub relationships. Maybe rope play at whatever. That's
having a
fine.
good time.
That's fine.
Uh-huh.
And we support all that.
All that fun.
I don't like the way you say fun.
fun times, all those fun times. Am I right? June 17th of 1789, in preparation for an impromptu séance royale, which is where the king would address the Estates General, Louis XVI, he closes it. And he doesn't tell anybody that he's doing this. Dr. Guillotin, he's the guy who suggests that the Third Estate in particular convene at this tennis court because they're thrown out of what they're all ready, and they just see that the doors are locked and they're like, well, what the hell are we supposed to do? Dr. Guillotin says that they should all convene at this. He knows this tennis court. It was owned by one of his friends in the Rue de Versailles, and they're like, why don't we go meet there and just talk for a little bit?
Think about the craziness of like inventing the guillotine and then going playing fucking tennis.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we're gonna chop.
So one of the delegates, Mounier, he suggests that they swear, and the Third Estate swear an oath of loyalty to each other to form a constitution no matter what happens. And so the Third Estate essentially at this moment rebrands itself as the National Assembly. And they're all now bound by bonds of brotherhood, exemplifying the ideal of fraternity, rather than one location. They're saying we're more loyal to each other, regardless of where we meet. This is occurring in it's called the tennis court oath.
Yeah.
Precisely because it's occurring outside of the halls of power. As it used to be, you had to be in some big fancy building. At this point, they're repudiating excess almost, or they're repudiating royalty or any sort of fanciness in that regard. And they're saying we don't need all that stuff. They're repudiating the aristocracy kind of in this subtle way. We'll meet in a tennis court as long as we can write a constitution. If this is what it takes, we're willing to do it.
Tennis is like a super hoity-toity ass sport.
But compared to like competitive ballroom,
I'm a
dancing,
man of the people. I'm gonna go play racquetball. You know, the people's sport. Racquetball. That's what you just said about tennis. That's what you just did.
I'm a man of the people. I'm gonna go to tobogganing.
Yeah.
You ever give toboggan with my fellow man? I'm gonna go. What's the one that they play with the sweeps? You know, is that shot putting, where they have the disc and you have the dudes on roller skates with brooms who will go and generate friction before the puck?
You're talking about curling.
Curling.
Yeah,
God,
but that's
damn it. That would have been decent.
That's
curling the people support, or I don't think so. It doesn't strike me as
like Canada, like Minnesota. I don't know. You know, I feel like wherever people like lutefisk, that's where curling's popping at.
That's probably true. You're telling me you don't know the financial demographic breakdowns of those who are into curling, Josh? Come on.
Yeah, man. Wherever people like a jellied cod.
Yeah. There's definitely some curlage.
Yeah, some curlage going on.
On June 23rd of 1789, the king approves voting by head in the Séance Royale, and that's the whole reason he had closed the Estates General in the first place, is because that's what he was about to announce. Is like, okay, you guys can, the third estate, now I've doubled the size of the third estate, and you guys can vote by head rather than by unit. So he's open. He's open to whatever's going to happen, right? And he also announces some very tepid reforms that are really more vague reinforcements of the status quo than anything else. But he also moves some German and Swiss troops around Paris. There's a buildup going on. He says that it's for this is to protect the assembly. This is to make sure that nothing happens to the assembly with all these riotous people out here, hungry people, and the food riots are going on. And I'm just trying to protect the assembly who are about to do these reforms. I'm trying to protect them, right? And there's all these hungry people and rural anarchy, and I just want to make sure nothing happens. I just want to make sure nothing happens. You hear me? Nothing happens.
Yeah, that's man. I just put that shotgun I pointed it in your general direction because I wanted to make sure there was nobody else around you.
Yeah, man.
That might be coming for, because I'm looking out for you.
See, what if a robber came by and was trying to pick your pocket? It would be a good thing that I had this shotgun pointed at you, because if a robber comes, then I'll just kill them.
It's like, bro,
you'll be fine.
You don't think I know what a threat looks like? You know how long I've been off the porch? I know what a threat looks like.
I'm eating in tennis courts. Yeah. All right. I'm clearly things are breaking down. Right.
Yeah. No, I'm
doing crazy shit I never thought I'd do. Out here playing tennis.
Playing tennis at the sport of the people. Tennis.
And bread prices, I should reiterate, are insane. Like, the people are starving. We're talking primarily about Paris, but it's chaos in the countryside. Paris is the seat of the action, and there are grocery riots going on there as well, but it's pretty fucked up across all France. There's also widespread rumors that the aristocracy was working with rich farmers to cause an artificial shortage and drive up prices. You've got this conspiracy of hoarding, a lot like what you're seeing now, honestly, with a bunch of fucking weird right-leaning newspapers being like, oh, Joe Biden's creating the food shortages. It's basically the same thing is going on right now.
I was saying, you ever follow them? You ever see them? You see somebody post that, and then you follow the link on the actual thing, and then you just go down this link rabbit hole of shit that don't have nothing to do with this.
Yep.
They don't have nothing to do with the news you saw that they was saying, nothing to do with the article. It's just the link. It was like, damn, dog.
Yep.
This is.
And according to Jeremiah 11:34, this is one of the signs that Jesus is about to return, and you just go like, oh,
he's coming back, dude.
Okay.
and Gucci loafers, dude. And he's gonna go to a tennis court because that's where the people are.
Where the people are. He's
according to Henry Price.
Meet his flock at the tennis court. Grill up some steaks, grill up some filet mignons, right?
Just Jesus showing up in some fucking Ray-Bans and some slides at the tennis court. Just like, what's up, fool? I would love that. I would love that.
Here I am. I'm back, bitches.
I'm back, dude.
Let's go. All right.
What's up?
So things really get heated. July 11th of 1789. This is when Jacques Necker is fired. He is told by the king to quickly GTFO to Switzerland. Very next day, July 12th, a young journalist / orator named Camille Desmoulins jumps on a table at a cafe and whips a crowd into a fury over the removal of Necker, stating that, quote, "I would rather die than submit to servitude."
Yeah.
And this crowd, they go on to attack the farmers general, which again is all the tax collectors, customs houses, as well as the monastery of Saint-Lazare, which is, there were rumors that like monks were stockpiling grain, and so they have to go attack that one. To, they have to raid the pizza parlor, so to speak.
Yeah, the cosmic, was it, or Comet Pizza?
That's right. Yeah, it's the comic pizza of the time. Pizza. Much different pretext, but same general idea.
Yeah.
Finally, July.
It always feels like with it also, the people when they give speeches during this time, they like give out these like great dramatics like speeches, and also it just makes me feel like they probably weren't that great at speaking. It's just that during this time, most people had only heard what like priests give speeches.
Yeah.
It wasn't it's just, and all these people are getting these new ideas. It's the Enlightenment, and then they're just jumping up on tables and for the first time saying some shit you really fuck with.
Yep.
You ever been galvanized for real?
Yeah.
Yeah, like actually galvanizes you.
Yeah. That I guess that is a good point of the public speakers being or orators in particular being a new phenomenon that you're used to it occurring within a church.
Yeah.
With a guy talking according to very specific lines, and then all of a sudden you're at a cafe or you're in a public park and some dude's just like, "This is all bullshit," and he's like, here,
he from like semi the merchant class and all that access to poetry that most of you have never heard of. Poetry, and can mix what he's talking about with the poet, like in the verse, and make and then maybe throwing a biblical metaphor because that's the only language you really understand because you've only been taught.
But also still connected enough with the working class to where he knows what they're going through and is able to kind of link it all together and be like, and you're like, oh, this is different, but I like it.
Because he's talking about the vague idea of liberty and like freedom and the idea to just do whatever you want and bread for the people and stuff like that. But then when you talk about the actual policies, then that stuff gets different, and then we'll discuss that later.
And he's like, he's saying like bread, and you're like, I am hungry. As a matter of fact.
Yeah,
so
dude. Yeah.
I like what this guy's saying. So this all culminates 233 years ago to this day, July 14th, 1789. Hotel des Invalides is raided first. 12 cannons and about 40,000 guns are given to the people, but they need gunpowder in order to fire these things. Where's the nearest and largest supply of gunpowder? Well, that would be the Bastille. So let's go see what they got.
Yeah.
Bastille is raided. The royal family, they debate leaving. This Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette stay. Louis XVI, he goes to Paris on the 17th to grant concessions and to legitimize the revolt and National Assembly after the Bastille has been raided. But when the raid is going on, there's negotiations. The Marquis de Launay, I think he was the head of the National Guard in charge of defending the Bastille. He's asked by this mob to give up their guns and quit the Bastille He refuses until he has instructions from the king at Versailles. This one guy from the mob, this one citizen, he gets up on the roof of a perfume shop, cuts down the ropes holding a drawbridge to the inner courtyard. It falls, kills one citizen. The rest of them file in. The guards warn they'll shoot if someone advances any further, and then someone fires. It's unknown as to who fired that first shot, but end result, you have 98 civilians dead to 15 invalides, who were the National Guardsmen defending the Bastille. And I read in part, Delaunay decided to surrender because they only had like 2 days worth of food, and he kind of knew that it wasn't going to happen. So he was just like, okay, I surrender because you guys are going to starve us out and we're all going to die anyway. So Delaunay, he's taken prisoner and he's marched to the Hotel de Ville. They're deciding that, the mob is basically debating, what are we going to do with this guy? What should we do with this guy? Yeah. He says, let me die. And he kicks a civilian in the balls. And then he is killed and his head is cut off and it is put on a pike along with one other guy. And it is paraded around Paris as this great victory, as it was.
If I was his kid, honestly, the fact that he kicked a dude in the balls before he died, like if I was his kid, I'd be proud about that, because that's the way a French man goes out.
I think so.
That's by kicking another man in the balls. That's the way a French man.
Especially you make it indisputable at that point. He says like, let me die. And then he's like, I feel like you could still equivocate on that point. You could still argue with him if he said, let me die, and he didn't kick the other guy in the balls. If he was just like, let me die, and you're like, no, I don't think so. But let me die, and then waka.
My man
is more like of an exclamation point as opposed to a period,
My man had ruffles on his shirt. And he kicked that man in the balls like, that's all right. That's my last act. I'm out of here.
He's very tired.
Yeah.
He's like, God damn it. I'm ready to die, man. If you won't do it, I'll give you a reason to. Okay, here you go. Waka!
They was arguing in front of him. They was arguing back and forth, and he was like, stop the bullshit. And just kicked the dude in the balls.
He knew what was going to happen. He was just like, obviously you should kill me. So yeah, I'm doing you a favor by kicking this man in the balls and making the decision obvious for you. I knew what you were going to do, but
if you keep me alive, a lot more dudes getting kicked in the balls. I know that. That's one thing.
There's this one, I don't remember who it is, but there's this one official, I think it's La Rochefoucauld, actually, one of the ministers I don't know if he was a minister. He was or just a member of the aristocracy around Louis XVI at the time, when he receives news that the Bastille has been raided. And Louis XVI asks La Rochefoucauld, is it revolt? And La Rochefoucauld says, no, sire, it is a revolution.
He didn't even, when people do that to you and you're the king, you're not about to make it out of this, big dog. That ain't that's your homeboy. He like, it's all right.
It's not looking good, man.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat it.
Yeah, it's not looking like it's gonna
not looking good.
It's not looking like it's gonna pan out.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if there's a whole lot of there's some maneuvering, but the dog days are over.
Dog days. That's a good song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
That's a good song.
I thought I said it, and then I was like, and I was there,
Well, guys, that's been part one of our French Revolution. Part one of the French Revolution. Guys, thank you for listening. Mm-hmm. We appreciate you.
Of course.
We love you. You can find us on all the social media. You know how it goes. If you're a long-time listener, you're a new listener, you can find us at Hard Fight History on Instagram, Hard Fight History on Facebook, Hard Fight History on YouTube, Hard Fight History on Twitter, Hard Fight History on Twitch. We're everywhere. You can find me at Joshua B. Stokes on Instagram and Twitter, Joshua Stokes on Facebook. And you can find Henry Price at
Henry E. Price on IG. Just Henry Price with Hard Fight History in parentheses on Amazon. If you wanna come get me on Amazon, man. I do a lot of reviews.
He's a book mogul.
Yeah, man.
He's a book mogul. And that's and guys, so join us for part 2. Thank you for listening to part 1. We'll see you next time. Okay?
Peace.
Peace.